A blessed and good Memorial Day to everyone. As we celebrate this Holy Mass, and as we think about what this day means for our country, as we reflect on the fact that it's only in Jesus Christ that we can have peace, I'd like you to reflect upon the words that Bishop will pray during the consecration. Our Holy Father, Bishop, priests all around the world will pray today as they consecrate the host into the body and the wine into the blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. They will say, "Do this in remembrance of me." We think about where we are transported to at that moment of the consecration, that on that hill of Calvary, the battlefield of sin, really, where Christ redeemed the whole world. I think we need to reflect upon really not so much the battlefield of the world, but the battlefield of our heart, the war that goes on in our hearts each and every day, the struggle, the combat, if you will, the spiritual combat against good and evil. We celebrate this Mass, we celebrate this day, we mark this day thinking about Good Friday. Do this in remembrance of me. As Jesus hung upon the cross, we call Friday good, Good Friday good. I would suggest to you then today is Good Memorial Day might be a fitting greeting. Why? Fulton Sheen said this: "There are certain things in life too beautiful to be forgotten. That is why we revere the sacrifice of our soldiers on Memorial Day. The most beautiful thing about the life of our Lord was in his death. Everyone else came into the world to live. He came into the world to die, to give his life as ransom for many." I read this last night, reflecting on what Memorial Day really and truly means and how important it is for us as a part of our this great nation to really pass on the great meaning of Memorial Day to our children and our grandchildren, if you will, because it's not just a day off, if you will. We've had certainly enough days off. It's a day to memorialize those who didn't come into the world to die, but yet sacrificed. You see, in those words, "Do this in remembrance of me," Jesus is telling us to go and do all things in remembrance of him. You know, God didn't want any longer any other sacrifice but for us to lay down our life. In fact, Jesus says that's the only way that we can be his friend, is to lay down our lives, to do in remembrance of him. We have that in these heroes that we commemorate today on this Memorial Day, from the Civil War in our country up until the current conflicts around the globe. Those who have died in action, men and women, heroes, the giants on whose shoulders that we stand on. They are, without a doubt, at least in my mind, a beautiful witness and model of how I need to be a better person, a better citizen. But I would go so far to be a better priest. You see, they didn't come into the world to die. I didn't come into the world to die. But yet, if we're going to emulate Christ, we need to die to ourselves so that others may live. We need to give of ourselves, possibly the ultimate sacrifice. As I said, there's There's a battle that goes on every day, certainly around the world, certainly in our own city streets. But there's even a bigger battle in our heart when we struggle to follow Christ and what he calls us to do. Today is a day, I think, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, we can all agree how important it is. How much more important it will be is up to all of us. When we live really what we learn from those brave men and women who did all so that we can have the freedom to give our all, so that we can come into really and worship our God, that we can live and be free. My brothers and sisters, Fulton Sheen gives us an opportunity to reflect on how these soldiers, these brave men and women, are witnesses of how we need to live our lives. They demonstrate what it is to die so that others may live. Really, they demonstrate as a witness of Jesus Christ. May we be willing to do all today and tomorrow and for the rest of our lives by doing all in remembrance of him.